On this week's show, Doomsday Clock, The Rise of Skywalker, and we take a look at politics in comics. Happening here and now, it's PREVIEWSworld Weekly.
What's up, PREVIEWSworld? It's Wednesday, it's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for PREVIEWSworld Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we're here every week to remind you guys to stop at a comic shop and get involved in what's happening in the world of comics. And of course, if you're just tuning in for the first time or you've been enjoying the show, be sure to give us a like, share, and follow to keep all the nerd news coming.
All right, things and stuff. I'm just going to jump into
Stuff
it.
and things.
Stuff and things are happening. One big thing that's happening this week, right? It's probably a couple. Actually, in general, this is a big week for comics.
That's true.
Actually, I want to point that out before we start dovetailing into all these other things.
Yeah.
But, Rise of Skywalker's coming out this week.
It's true.
Are you going to see it?
Of course I am.
When are you going to see it?
I'm going to see it on Thursday.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
We got in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You jumped on it. All
I
right,
did.
Cool.
Actually, I had completely forgotten, and then my boyfriend was like, "Get tickets," and I was like, "Oh, right, that's
That's the thing, right? Yeah.
He's the Star Wars fanatic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay, all
for
right,
sure.
I get
Like,
that.
it's his thing. But of course, he's also still of the school with the new stuff that, like,
Yeah, no, I get that. I definitely feel that for 100%.
Yeah.
I'll see it eventually.
Of
I don't
course.
know. I think Johnny's probably the resident Star Wars fan in here. Are you going to see it this week, Johnny, or are you going to hold off, or? Meh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Consensus
that
among-
seems to be the
yeah,
the general consensus.
old school Star Wars fans.
I've had a lot of people say that, like, they are looking more forward to The Mandalorian week to week than
Oh,
they
absolutely.
are, this new
Absolutely.
movie. So
Which is funny. I mean, like, they're trying to put some serious substance in the movies, and The Mandalorian is just sort of adventure fluff,
Right,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that's what we need right
I
now.
think that's what Star Wars is supposed to be, to be
Exactly.
honest.
Yeah.
I that was always my initial take on it.
Right.
It is a fun adventure fluff. It's Flash Gordon and old westerns
Right.
and to an extent World War II movies and just like samurai movies all rolled into one crazy weird thing
Space.
that George Lucas just happened to tap into. So yeah, I like that actually. I think I'm gonna start running with that adventure fluff.
Yeah.
There's a place for it, and I think that yeah, even the prequels I think on some level kind of failed to be adventure fluff in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So yeah, interesting. I actually like that term. That's very
There
cool.
you
Yeah, I'll see it eventually. Like I'm sure it'll. I actually listened to some spoilers this morning because I was just sort of like,
You don't really
I'll
care
get
enough
around
to
it. Yeah.
I mean, I've also never been the kind of person that cares about spoilers. I'm gonna go see it anyway if I like it. So, and it doesn't bother me to have like things revealed before their time.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know. It's never been a thing that bothers me.
Okay.
If I like the story, I like the story. That's all that matters. So, I mean, I wouldn't be bothered if something was spoiled, but I don't know. I'm hoping from the trailers, I feel better about this movie than I have the past two.
Okay. All right. Nice.
And I couldn't tell you precisely why, but this one I think is going to be at least better.
Yeah. I think we're in this movie's gonna have an interesting place in cinematic history. I
Yes,
think, and
that's
like it's either
for
going to be
sure.
Heaven's Gate, or which is some of you might not get that reference, but whatever. Or it's going to be like this weird addendum to the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very curious. But you did see, speaking of Star Wars, you mentioned off camera you saw Knives Out,
I
right?
did.
Which is the Rian Johnson
Yes,
movie from
yes.
the Last Jedi director.
Yes,
And what did you think
exactly.
of that one?
Knives Out is great.
Okay, yeah, I've been
It's
hearing
very
that a lot.
Clue. It's very like
Oh.
it has a little bit of lightheartedness to it, and it's definitely like really Clue actually.
Okay.
Yeah, super
Huh.
Clue. But the characters are fun, and it has like a really all-star cast.
Okay.
And definitely worth it to go see. But like, stick to those. You do really well with these kind of movies. Like, this was a really good movie. I walked out of that feeling really good about it, and,
Okay.
and having really enjoyed it, to the point where I'm gonna go watch it as soon as it comes out again.
Oh,
Like,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun.
No, actually, you know what? You just sold me on that. It's weird because like I've been hearing good things about it, but a lot of times people just say it's good.
Right.
And you referencing Clue makes me way more
Clue
curious
is one of
about
my
it.
favorite movies.
It's a fun movie.
It's very fun.
used to
And I
come
mean,
on
like, that's
HBO all the
over the top
time.
comedy, like
Yeah.
super comedy. This is definitely not as.
Right, yeah.
But
No,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right, I'm with that. I don't know if you got a chance to, but I definitely got a chance to watch at least like the first 2 episodes of Crisis on
Yeah, I
Netflix.
haven't touched
you haven't
that
got
yet.
a chance to. It's interesting. Like it's kind of weird to watch these cataclysmic events on a TV budget.
Sure.
But the cool thing I thought that they did was they are implementing like tons of past DC Comics TV and movie media. So like there's one of the Earths that gets destroyed in the first episode is the 1989 Batman Earth, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Alexander Knox from that movie shows up. The Batman 66 Earth gets destroyed, so Burt Ward is like out walking his dog, and then like he sees like the planet's about to explode or something. It's just really fun. Apparently there's a comic out that's that has like the Adrian Palicki Wonder Woman failed TV pilot getting destroyed.
Oh, how funny.
Right, yeah. So I mean, they're having fun with it, which is
like
interesting.
that.
Like, yeah, I've seen like a few episodes here and there of like some of the DC stuff, and you know, some of it's hit or miss for me. I think the one that stood out the most was The Flash and Supergirl when I like the episodes I've seen.
I haven't watched Supergirl. I've watched, I feel like a season-ish of The Flash, and I definitely enjoyed that. But I guess DC has largely not been my thing in general.
Right.
Oh, I definitely watched a bunch of Arrow, but I don't really remember much of it.
That's fair.
There's a lot.
Right.
But, you know, I have a lot of friends who are diehard DC fans, and they are actually really enjoying the show.
Yeah. I mean, I wish that, I know they were teasing a Flashpoint thing at one point in time. I kind of wish they would just take the movie version and the TV version and have them meet each other, and just kind of just fulfill this whole crisis concept that they're playing with on the, or they're committing to on the TV shows. So,
absolutely.
This is actually going to be a pretty DC heavy episode. So why don't we actually talk about comics?
What?
How about that? Anna Mia. She's here, and she's going to show you what's the comic shops this week, and then we come back, we'll have our picks and some big ticket items you should pay attention to. Check it out.
Hey Previews World, Mia here. Do you know what new comics are coming out this week? No? Well, let's take a look. Here's what's at comic shops for December 18th, 2019. Is that it? No way. Your comic shop has something for every type of customer. So stop at a comic shop today, and I'll see you here next week.
Thanks, Mia, and as always, that's just a little bit of what's available this week. So if you want to see a full list of what you can get at your local comic shop, head on over to previewsworld.com/new releases. What you been reading?
I'm actually very behind on this book. Like I probably suggested like the first 6 issues of it, and then I have been getting them from my local comic shop, but I haven't been reading them.
Happens to the best of us.
And like that's just the nature of it. But Guardians of the Galaxy number 12. It's Donny Cates. It's Corey. It was initially Jeff Shaw and Corey, and now it's Corey Smith as the artist. But they have pretty complementary art styles, which I appreciate when you switch an artist in mid storyline. But it's just been a fun book. Like it's not the original Guardians team. It's not the movie Guardians team necessarily. It's kind of a mishmash of some of the Marvel Universe's cosmic characters, all on kind of creating this hodgepodge team to just meet this threat. And this threat is spun out of Thanos' Last Will and Testament, which is, as a concept, already a fun idea. And so there's a bunch of different key factors that kind of play into this, and like the team gets kind of like thrown around the universe. Some of them get sucked into a black hole. Silver Surfer is one of them. As you do. Right, you know. But yeah, it's really fun. Also, I really like, I don't know if this is a trend that these companies have noticed lately and they're trying to like adopt it or what, but I like this idea of 12 issues and we're done. This is the last issue.
Oh, nice.
And so like,
that's a pretty decent chunk.
Right, it's like a year of story.
Yeah.
And I think that actually as a model is actually a really good model.
That's
because
fair, yeah.
I know I'm reading Batman's Grave right now. That's 12 issues. I'm reading Jimmy Olsen's pal, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Yes.
That's 12 issues. Doomsday Clock, which we're going to talk about later, is 12 issues. And so I know that there was also Old Man Quill and Old Man Hawkeye. There was 12 issues. I think that's like, if you're not going to commit to a full-length series, which I know in this day and age you can't really do. I mean, I won't say you can't, but
It's a little more difficult.
It seems more difficult than it used to be,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Then I like the idea of locking in a creative team for 12 issues, having them tell their story and let them be done. Yeah, and I think that makes sense in this, this binge culture that we live in now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
yeah, instant gratification, binge culture. Like, just give us the chunk of thing, we'll digest it. There you have it.
Right, and a full series is such of a commitment because you don't know when the payoff's going to come or whatever. But if you just give me 12 issues and you're done, I'm for that. So,
yeah, we're all very busy humans too. So like having something that you can easily digest, right, and not having to, end up with 500 back issues because you haven't been able to set the time aside to follow the storyline is nice.
No, absolutely. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy number 12. It's been a fun book.
Good.
I mean, at least the first 6 issues have, which I think is a good indication that the next 6 issues will also be good.
Exactly.
And I'm going to finish it, so I'll probably end up talking about it later. But
good.
What are you looking forward to this week?
So this is really cool. This is an offshoot from the Black Hammer guys. And so it's from Jeff Lemire, and it is Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy, issue number 1. Nice. And of course, here we are, Thea picking the comic from the cover. But look at that
cool
art. It's so cool.
That's a cool character design.
I really love these character designs. I really love the art. Like, it's graphic, it's clean, it's very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So this is about Skulldigger, who is essentially a kind of a hero, but he's all skeletal, so there's got to be some darkness there involved, right? And Spiral City finds itself trapped in a vicious cycle of crime, corruption, and violence, as cities are wont to do, and a vigilante rises in Skulldigger. And of course, there's a nefarious Grim Jim who escapes from prison, and he's gonna be after Skulldigger, specifically. So Skulldigger and his ward, Skeleton Boy, will have to save Spiral City and avoid Grim Jim, and of course Grim Jim's gonna be like causing havoc and as villains do as well. I like it because it is very much like the traditional vigilante hero story kind of setup. You got the dark city with all the problems going on, and you got the guy coming in to try and fix it, and has to avoid his own past and his own villains. And yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
No, I mean, we were talking about, you mentioned adventure fluff again. I mean, this thing, again, that's adventure fluff in a way. It's like, it's a little bit darker, but still falls in that category. Yeah, I keep wanting to get in the Black Hammer, and like everybody, I don't care who it is, has told me it's great.
Yeah, I've only ever heard good things.
Yeah, so
this is also good because, like you were saying about 12 issues, I think this is a mini-series of only like 5 or 6, something like that. So it's also just like a little chunk, a little view into the world of Black Hammer, which is always good.
Yeah. Jeff Lemire, I don't know how he has time to write all this stuff.
I know, right?
Does, he writes so
there
much
you have
stuff.
it.
One other book I'm looking forward to this week, I've actually have not been following the Infected storyline. I've picked up little bits of the Year of the Villain stuff. I know the big chunk of that story in the DC books is the Batman-Superman story, or The Man Who Laughs. But there's Commissioner Gordon one-shot out this week, and it's written by Paul Jenkins. Paul Jenkins gave us The Sentry. He wrote Civil War Frontline, which had that tragic story about Speedball, and it was really dark. He's done Judge Dredd, Hellblazer, and also just generally, I find Commissioner Gordon kind of a fascinating character.
I like him very much as a character.
Because you really have to look at it like he's, look at his profile, like he's a cop in a corrupt city, like his police force is largely ineffective, you know what I mean? And he still has to try to maintain some form of law despite relying on vigilantes. His daughter was crippled. You know what I mean? Like, and so with the promise,
she's also a vigilante.
And she's also a vigilante, right? And so, and also on top of that, like, depending on which timeline you follow, or whatever, but my favorite timelines is that when he finds out Batman is Bruce Wayne and just opts to say nothing.
Right. But that's like really, that stands to reason for his character.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm just going to keep this under wraps because this is kind of important to my career and the city, and like we're not going to try and mess with that.
Right, exactly. And so this is the Commissioner one-shot. It's by Paul Jenkins. And actually, I always wonder, like, why does he never gets promoted to anything? He's always just commissioner. He's either a sergeant or commissioner. I don't think or lieutenant or commissioner. He's never gone beyond that. He should be mayor or something at this point, I kind of feel.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it takes place during the Infected storyline, and what they're promising here is that, like, this I hesitate to call it a zombie epidemic, but that's kind of what they're going for here, right? This zombie epidemic is going to force his hand in a way that's going to kind of challenge his concepts of law and order. So I've always liked that. Like, I think that, like, you take a character that's largely has like ideology and like just wants to stick to it, and then you shake it up for him.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and this is definitely a way to do that.
And that's definitely a way to do that. No, yeah, I've always found Commissioner Gordon a fascinating character.
I agree.
And so yeah, I'm looking forward to this little one shot, one and done. You know, and maybe it'll get me into the infected storyline. Maybe I'll be like, oh, this surrounding world is actually pretty interesting. So.
Gotta dive in there, right?
Right.
Very cool, very cool.
What else are you looking forward to?
So I've talked about this book before on the show. We're on to a nice trade, so
Okay,
you can get a chunk of it. So this is Sonata, and this
okay,
is volume 1 of the trade paperback here. And so this is two cultures that are clashing on a planet that they both believe is like their promised land. And of course, it's this really cool sci-fi epic deal. We've got the Rands, who are the peace-loving folks, and the Tyans, who are a race of warriors that are about colonization and control. And of course, this planet is also the home to some mysterious sleeping giants, as these things go, right? That seems to be a theme with me lately.
Yeah, it's actually,
sleeping
you're
giants.
Right. The last couple of picks have been like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Gogor, and I
Right.
feel like another bunch of them have this kind of thing going on. Nobody knows if they're bad, if they're monsters or if they're lost gods or something. And of course, there's a young woman whose name is Sonata, and she's basically trying to challenge everyone in order to try and bring everyone together, as far as I can tell. Yeah. So this is issues 1 through 6. Get a nice chunk of that.
Would you say that sounds political? I think it could be a little bit. Some,
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
So we'll get into that later, because that's going to be interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, that sounds like a fun one. Fun
Yeah.
fantasy epic adventure.
Sci-fi fantasy
With
for
some
sure.
subtext in the real world, maybe. I'm just saying. Doomsday Clock, number 12.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some big ticket items this week. Look, I have not read any of the Doomsday Clock books. Look, it's been late. All right. It looks amazing.
It does look amazing. Every time I see any little bit about it, I'm like, I should read that,
Right.
and then I don't.
Right. Well, I mean, but finally they're about to conclude it. Speaking of 12-issue series,
Yeah.
right? They're about to conclude this. This is the final issue of this series. And there's a lot of things that are pointing in the direction of the larger DC universe kind of. DC's been teasing this idea of a timeline. We talked about this on the show before. And this is going to help build that timeline. At least that's what everybody's speculating at this point in time.
Sure.
And this last issue has the showdown, potentially the showdown between Dr. Manhattan and Superman, which is kind of amazing and epic and terrifying at the same time.
I'm like, oh God.
But Superman's also become an enemy of humanity. I actually had a chance to read the first 12 pages like this week, and actually it really did kind of pull me in. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here, Jeff Johns. But yeah, Superman's kind of an enemy of humanity. Dr. Manhattan has the Justice League in general just coming for him at this point in time. There's a new Rorschach in town. Like, the whole thing is just bananas. And I look forward to seeing it in trade. So there you go. That's a big ticket item this week. Definitely look forward to it. And I know a lot of you already are. So what else should people look out for?
Wonder Woman. So we have Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So this looks really cool. I love the artwork. It's from Danny Warren Johnson, who, of course, did Murder Falcon. And I'm very excited that this is something that he's sinking his teeth into. I love Wonder Woman, and I love his work. So
Yeah.
good combo in terms of things Thea likes. So it's essentially a lot of sci-fi that he's chucking into DC with this one. And it's, of course, Princess Diana, and she's left paradise to save man's world from itself. Again,
Yeah,
as she do.
It's her life goal, it seems like.
We are a mess. Sorry there, Diana. And of course, she awakens from a centuries-long sleep to discover that Earth has been reduced to a nuclear wasteland. So of course, we have the post-apocalyptic landscape here for Wonder Woman to make her way through. And she has to protect the last human city from titanic monsters while uncovering the secret of the dead Earth and how she may be responsible for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
The plot thickens.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, this looks like a really fun book, visually, conceptually. Like, I'm absolutely here for this.
Yeah. No, I told you off camera, I was like, this is the one that I've already ordered. Like, I ordered this months ago, so I'm eagerly awaiting for it to show up today.
Good.
So I could read it because, yeah, this idea of let's say Mad Max meets
Yeah.
Wonder Woman.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
For
like,
sure.
And also, like, at least the Murder Falcon guy on top of it, of course, right? Like, it just seems like it's going to be cool and awesome. And it's DC Black Label, so they're just going to kick the brakes off of it and let them ride it out.
Bam.
So, yeah. And also, Wonder Woman's one of those characters, you can kind of put her in just about any scenario.
Fair.
and it's fascinating to see her like adapt to it or not, you
Right.
know. So yeah, this should be a fun one. I'm actually really looking forward to this. So let's keep the DC love going, all right?
Word.
Here's a trailer for The Low Woods. It's from DC Comics, of course. It's also from their imprint Hill House, run by Joe Hill. Check this out, and when we come back, we'll have a little bit more for you.
It's okay if you need to scream. The Low Woods. Welcome to Shudder to Think, Pennsylvania, where skinless men and antlered women walk the woods, and reality is falling in on itself. Welcome to Hill House Comics, curated by Joe Hill, the mastermind behind Nosferatu and Lock and Key.
And that's The Low Woods from DC Comics and Joe Hill, Hill House, I should say. Joe Hill, he didn't actually write this one, but he's curating this entire line of horror books for DC. DC has been, for the longest time, a home for horror comics.
For sure.
It's just they made their bed in that, like, I want to say in the 70s. So they're kind of known for this, and this is kind of like continuing that tradition.
Absolutely.
So, and it's out today. First
Yeah,
issue dropped today.
that's
So
true, yeah.
So check it out. If you're a big horror fan, if you're a big Joe Hill fan, you know, apparently there was a Lock and Key teaser that kind of floated around this past week.
My.
Yeah, and I know people are big fans of that show.
Absolutely.
Then you might want to also pick this up.
Yeah.
But now it's time for the news.
It's true.
Thea is going to take it away. And I was like, over here, and I was like, wait, no, over here.
Ta-da.
Thea's going to take it away, and she's going to show us what's been going on in the world of comics in the last 7 days. Check it out.
This March, Marvel's brightest young heroes will defend their very right to save the world in Outlawed, an event one-shot that will kick off one of 2020's biggest events. Announced by AV Club, a devastating tragedy causes the government to crack down on young vigilantes, sending shockwaves throughout the entire Marvel universe. With various stories spinning out of it throughout next year, this is just the epic beginning of a bold new era for Marvel's most promising heroes. Outlawed will raise tough questions that Chicago-based writer and scholar Dr. Eve L. Ewing is more than ready to tackle. Outlawed #1 by Eve L. Ewing and Kim Jacinto is on sale at your local comic shop this March. Boom Studios has revealed a first look at Firefly, the Outlaw Ma Reynolds, an oversized special one-shot by acclaimed writer Greg Pak, artists David Gianfelice and George Cambadayas, colorist Joanna Lafuente, and letterer Jim Campbell, about the singular person who shaped Captain Malcolm Reynolds into the fearsome browncoat and fearless leader he is today, his mother. Captain Malcolm Reynolds, thief, smuggler, resistance fighter, and now captain of a crew of outcasts all the way on the farthest reaches of the verse, wasn't born an outlaw, but he did come by it honestly. Turns out, his mother, the infamous Maude Reynolds, is at the top of the Alliance Most Wanted list, and if Mal doesn't get to her first, the Alliance will. Kicking off a new year of Firefly, discover the secret history of Mal and his mother, what that will mean for the rest of the verse, and a new brewing war to end all wars. Firefly, the Outlaw Ma Reynolds #1 will be available January 15th at your local comic shop. The New York Times best-selling Eisner Award-winning comics titan Robert Kirkman is teaming up with Eisner-winning artist Chris Samnee, Eisner Award-winning colorist Matt Wilson, and letterer Russ Wooten to bring fans an all-new, full-color, action-packed ongoing series, Firepower. This is the first new project from Kirkman since the surprise conclusion to his pop culture phenomenon, The Walking Dead. Firepower will more than fill a Walker-sized hole in your monthly pull list. This new series also marks Samnee's return to comics after wrapping up his best-selling run on Captain America that concluded in early 2018. Owen Johnson's journey to China to learn about his birth parents eventually leads him to a mysterious Shaolin temple. The students there study to rediscover the firepower, the lost art of throwing fireballs, a power they claim will be needed soon to save the world. Will Owen Johnson be the first person in 1,000 years to wield the firepower? Keep your eyes out for Firepower, which will launch from Image and Skybound in May of 2020. And finally, following the blockbuster 750th issues of The Flash and Wonder Woman, new adventures of the Fastest Man Alive and the Amazon Warrior Princess will keep the momentum going throughout 2020, as DC has announced plans to return both titles to legacy numbering, beginning with Wonder Woman 750 on January 22nd, 751 on February 12th, 752 February 25th, 753 on March 11th, and 754 on March 25th. February 26th also sees the release of The Flash 750, with issue 751 following on March 11th and 752 on March 25th. In March, Princess Diana begins a new adventure with issue 753, written by Steve Orlando with art by Max Raynor. In The Flash 751, writer Joshua Williamson concludes the Flash Age saga as Barry Allen's newest nemesis, Paradox, enlists the aid of Godspeed to erase the Flash from existence. So watch out for the return of legacy numbering with Wonder Woman 750 on January 22nd and The Flash 750 on February 26th.
No, I'm actually excited for the anniversary of both of these characters.
Yes.
Because I want a good jumping on point for certain, like for Wonder Woman and Flash. Like I've always kind of had stop and goes when I'm reading their runs. I usually follow a creative team and then I'm done.
Right.
You know, but
I mean, there's something to be said for that. There are definitely creative team preferences that you develop through reading comics.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that like these anniversary issues always, at least with the Batman and Superman ones, they were good reference for like, oh, I like this writer. I don't like this writer so much. Oh, I like this artist. Not this artist so much.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times those teams were going on to making other series.
Sure.
So yeah, it's good in general for new readers, but also longtime readers as well. So I'm looking
Brings
forward to that.
everybody together.
Also, Firepower actually sounds kind of cool.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. And I was never a Walking Dead fan so much, but I mean, it is very good writing.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see him working on something else that's a little more my vein.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Get out of the zombie genre because I know he gets anchored into the horror category a lot.
For sure.
Also, Chris Samney is such a good artist.
Yes.
Like if I remember correctly, he did a Thor book a few years back, The Mighty Thor, that was actually great, just because it involved him like duking it out with Hercules in a bar because they were both like drunk.
That's so perfect.
And the Warriors 3 had to intervene. Like it was
so good.
I can't remember who the writer was on that book. It wasn't Mark Waid, it was somebody else. But like Chris Samney, I just love his art style in general. Also the Street Fighter nerd in me is all about fireballs. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it also has a really good sort of Doctor Strange vibe to it too.
No, it definitely does. And Iron Fist and like
Yeah,
a couple of things.
a lot of those folks that everybody loves.
Absolutely. So it's time for Previews Toy Chest.
Yes.
Natasha's here and she's going to show you what just hit the local comic shop this week. Check it out.
Hey Previews World! Here's this week's rundown of some of the toys, statues, and collectibles hitting store shelves for the first time. Let's take a look inside the Previews Toy Chest for the week of December 18th, 2019. That's not all. Before heading to your local comic shop, be sure to check out PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases. There you'll find a complete rundown of everything a toy collector could possibly want.
Thanks for nothing, Natasha. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Natasha. And if you're looking for more toys, head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/toychaz, of course. And first of all, I mentioned actually off camera the Bumblebee thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a Bumblebee toy out this week. I'm not a fan of Transformers movies. Like
I watched like the first two.
The first one's decent. Like it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
And like they just devolve from there. But I actually just kind of randomly like over the weekend I put on Bumblebee just to kind of
have some background
just
noise.
to have background noise so I could fall asleep. Literally just so I could fall asleep. And the first 5 minutes alone, I was like, no, I'm pausing
never
this,
mind. I actually have to
watching
watch this.
later
Yeah.
because this actually looks really cool.
It's really fun.
It's legit Transformers.
Yeah.
Like I knew people kept saying that, but like the opening alone, I was like, oh
no,
we're gonna have to watch something else.
That's actually legit.
Right.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very good movie. I don't remember where or when I saw it. I
Right.
don't think I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
Did I see it in theaters? I can't remember. Either way, I thought it was very good.
Okay, yeah. I know
And
a lot of
it's
people
got
have.
a little nostalgia to it
Right.
and a lot of fun. It's upbeat and light. And
Does it take place in the 80s?
I think it does.
I
I think it must.
All right, huh.
90% sure.
90% sure. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. But also, we didn't even mention this actually. We should have said this in the opening of the show. I'm pretty certain, The Witcher debuts this week as well. And so, as you can see, there's a lot of Dark Horse figures out
Yes,
this
they look very
week.
fancy.
Yeah. So
I'm excited for that. I haven't been paying enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm really excited about this thing I don't remember the release date of, but I don't know what day of the week is on any given day.
That's okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Witcher.
Right. No, I mean, it's been on the periphery
Yes.
a lot for me. And so, like, I keep seeing bits and pieces of it. I've never played the game.
Me either.
I actually bought the game with Xbox with Gold and never played it.
What do you,
I bought 3, I think it was just Wild Hunt. I'm not a big open worlds person, I gotta be honest. Yeah. I know.
but then you spent all that money. They're
Well, no,
not-
it was free.
Oh,
Games
okay.
with Gold is free.
All right. I was going to say, what the heck,
Yeah,
man?
games with Gold is
Just
free.
making it rain for the video games
No,
over
no,
there.
no,
Like,
no.
whew.
Yeah, no. If you complain, here's the thing: if you complain about comic books being expensive, video games, forget it.
They're
I'm
rough.
Not interested.
They're rough.
Anyway, toys.
Moving
yes.
on.
Back to toys.
A lot of good animated series stuff.
Yes.
Which I'm excited about. I
Absolutely.
love the animated
Oh
series.
yeah, and it just so happens.
Da, da,
I saw
da.
what you did there.
Yeah, hey, check out that transition. Wha-bam! We got Bane.
There you go.
He's very cute, which I think is probably the silliest thing to say about Bane.
right?
He's
Yeah.
adorable.
This is actually my favorite version of this character. Actually, is the
He's
animated
got
cartoon.
like all
yeah.
luchadored out.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
So, of course, prize! So if you guys out there want to win Little Bane, let us know, when did Bane make his first appearance in comics? Hit us up on social media, let us know your answer, and we'll pick one of you guys to win this.
Ooh, ooh.
And of course, we have last week's winner of the DC Gallery Wonder Woman PVC, answering our question of what your opinion is on the Wonder Woman trailer. We have Jose Lopez, who said that he liked the return of Steve Trevor, the garbage can, and the first look at Pascal's Maxwell Lord. Can't wait for Wonder Woman to spoiler his spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't allude to it. I just said it outright last week. But it'd be interesting if that's the direction they go. If I understand exactly what Jose is referencing, because there's Maxwell Lord and Wonder Woman have a history in the comics for sure. So there you go. But time for
A promo.
a promo. Yeah, there you go. So this is a little promo for the panel, and when we come back, we'll explain what it is. Check this out. That was a little promo for the panel, which is our new book club show featuring Anamia. She has a panel of hosts who talk about, guests, I should say, who talk about a particular book. And our first book is going to be Batman Hush, which is what we were hinting at in the little promo we just showed you guys right now.
Yep.
I don't know how much I want to say about it, but thus far what I've seen, I'm very happy with.
Good.
Yeah, it was kind of, you get about 4 people in a room and you don't know if they're going to click necessarily.
Sure.
But this worked out really well.
Awesome.
And I'm looking forward to people finding more about it over the next month or so, because the debut is scheduled to be January. We won't say when in January,
Right.
but scheduled to be in January.
There you go.
So
Sometime
in January. But now, let's get political.
Let's get
Dun,
political.
dun, dun. Actually, first of all, did you see the Donald Trump Thanos ad?
Yeah.
I just thought that was so hilarious. We won't dive into that because that's going to get us in a
That's
whole
a
other
whole
world
other,
of trouble.
I was gonna say.
But I just thought that was just the most interesting thing that anybody could do.
In a way.
Right.
I don't think he's smart enough to be Thanos,
Well,
honestly.
actually, okay, I will say this. This is proof we're in this weird space where the superhero genre is everywhere.
That's a good
And,
point.
Some fake nerd.
Shots fired.
Johnny's telling us to stop talking now.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, some fake nerd,
Decided.
decided that this was going to be the narrative. So, yeah. But here you go, Social Swamp time.
All right, guys, we have a pretty hefty social swamp this week. We have asked you guys one of the comic questions. What do you think of modern politics in comic book stories? So we have some pretty good responses, ranging from pretty positive to pretty negative. Starting with Melvin Penner, who said, politics have always been a pillar in superhero comic books. To see our heroes act in one fashion or another to the current political spectrum should be seen as an act of guidance and self-discovery for the reader. We may agree with it, and we may not. Either way, we learn more about our own standing on current events from our internal reactions. Next is E.F. Paredes, who said, interestingly enough, my 3 favorite writers, Alan Moore, Chris Claremont, and Neil Gaiman, have a knack for bringing socio-political issues into their storytelling. They know how to make such issues relatable without antagonizing or patronizing their viewers. They do it so well that their readers barely notice it and sometimes even deny that a story or character is politically influenced. Nick Clifton said, if you were to tell me that any piece of media was apolitical, it's more likely that you've ignored the themes contained within. It may even be that the status quo is good, which is a political position. Adam Bunch said, subtlety and respect is key. I think when it's used aggressively and preachy, regardless of party, you'll turn people off and lose your audience, readers, and market. Mitch Ellerbrock said, keep it out. We deal with politics enough every day whether we want to or not, and I don't care which side you're on, politics are just plain awful. So when someone goes to maybe read some comic books to try and get away from all the crap that gets thrown at them at all hours of every day from both sides, and they see that it's still getting shoved in their face even in the pages of their favorite comic books, it's enough to drive someone mad. And finally, we have Refe Mahadeo. I apologize if I have butchered your name, my friend. He said, I think a big problem is a lot of modern writers aren't as smart as they think they are, and that really shows in their handling of political subject matter. Ouch, Charlie.
Ouch. Ouch. So.
Woo! All right.
Interesting.
We ran the gamut on that.
No, we did.
Right? Which is good.
It's good.
Right?
It's actually very
I'm glad
good.
that we have responses from all ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. No, I mentioned this earlier, like, the responses we had were either very well thought out, and I mean, we made it a point to like give us well thought out answers, or they were just glib. Like, you know, but I never came across anything that was like a blatant troll or just like, you know, it was like people actually have thoughts on this.
Yes, they're actually thinking about it. It's actually something that is being talked about too, right? Like, and it always has been. And it's one of those things recently where I have been seeing a lot of responses from people that are like, well, why, particularly with Watchmen, right?
Yeah,
People that have been watching Watchmen.
Oh, the TV show, yeah.
The TV show, and being like, why do they have to bring politics into it?
Okay.
First off, it's Watchmen.
Yeah.
So if you read any of that and you missed the politics, honey, go back and read it.
Yeah.
Because it's really political.
Yeah, it's very political.
So I feel like the one guy that said that you're either ignoring it or they've made it so subtle that you barely notice it,
Right,
like, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it.
You're not going to see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, all right, I go back and forth on this a lot.
Yeah.
And to the point that I thought I had a hardline stance on it, and the more and more conversations I have with people when I'm allowed to have them with people, because you know sometimes those can get very dicey.
Absolutely.
The more and more I kind of end up kind of in the middle, and I know that like, you know, a center perspective is not necessarily a popular one these days.
Of course not.
But so my thing is this, like I think there's a few people who said in the comments that creating art, creating in general is a political act. And
That's fair.
I actually kind of like that idea, to be honest. Like, I think that, like, look, in this country at least, right, we have freedom of expression, and therefore art is a form of expression. And therefore, if you're expressing yourself artistically, then, yeah, okay, I can see that being, like, at least a political action.
Yeah.
You know?
Fair.
I can see that. I understand it. And I actually kind of think that's actually a very nice idea in itself. Where I get off, right? The point where I'm just like, all right, this is when I'm done, guys, is when it becomes propaganda.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and I say that because for me personally,
Opinion.
opinion,
Not fact.
propaganda is not art. And the reason I say that, is because there's nothing very artful about propaganda. Like, and I know, I see your face.
My art degree is vibrating.
I totally get it. This is actually why I was glad that you were here to have this conversation, because like, I know you have a perspective about this like, you know, more of a historical art thing, right?
Of course.
But here's and the reason I say that is because propaganda is heavy-handed, it's manipulative, and like art can be manipulative, of course it can be, right? You know, but to me personally, there's nothing artful about that approach.
I understand where you're coming from on that, and the explanation behind that is that art is being used,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So it's being used. So it's still art, but it's not necessarily the natural creativity,
Right. Yes.
right? Because there's a very, very, very specific goal in mind.
Right.
And I mean, you could also argue that a lot of art has a very, very specific goal in mind, but this is like one of the touchiest things, right? And it always goes back to Hitler.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And Nazis, and how they used art
Yep.
to further their really negative goals.
Right, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it is still art, but I understand the want to say that it's not artistic in the same way most art is. Yeah. I mean, they still went out and they found people that were capable of
making these things.
making
Absolutely.
these things, right?
And that's not to say that the person who made it is not an artist.
Artist, sure.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think one of the prime examples, I'm actually glad you brought up Hitler and World War II, because one of the prime examples people love to throw out there is Captain America punching Hitler. If we want to bring it back to comics, right?
Yeah.
It's Captain America punching Hitler.
Always.
People always love to bring that up. Now, here's the thing. That is propaganda.
Sure.
That is 100% propaganda.
Absolutely.
Now, that does not mean that Jack Kirby and Joe Simon are not artists.
Right.
Right? But that is propaganda.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very interesting because in the Captain America movie, The First Avenger, they do something very interesting. And actually, I think it's very key to my argument at the very least, right? Which is that he goes into it as Captain America as a marketing tool.
Yep.
The troops don't respect him because of it, and he kind of doesn't respect himself because he hates it because he has integrity.
Yep.
And so what happens is, actually, I think there's a scene where Peggy actually calls him something like a dancing monkey or something like that, right? And so what you have there is the movie's making it a point to say Captain America isn't the marketing aspect of what makes that character
not the
key.
propaganda, yeah.
It's the integrity of Steve Rogers.
Yep.
And that's my perspective
That's
when it
perfect.
comes to art.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
In the comic world.
In the comic world.
With politics.
You know, it's like the integrity of the story. Now, on top of that, I think we're also at a point now where authorial intent matters.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that at this point we're in this weird place, and I know I just said that, you know, artistic expression is a political act. We're also in this weird place where people have a tendency to call everything artistic political. And I'm sorry, it just isn't. Like, Deadpool's not political.
It's all about interpretation.
It's all about interpretation.
Right?
Well,
it's not all about interpretation, but there is often a difference between the writer's intent and the consumer's reaction.
Right, yeah.
So that is definitely something that you see a lot in art and also in comics. Like even they said that like it's sometimes so subtle that you're not going to notice it. Yeah. And honestly, when you're a creator, sometimes you don't notice when you're putting it in. You're writing from your own perspective, you're writing from your own worldview and that sort of thing. And whether or not that is political in your own mind, it could be easily interpreted as such.
All right, no, absolutely. And actually, I'm also glad you pointed that out too, because like I think that from your own perspective, right? Because like, okay, yes, particularly in this country, race is political.
Yes.
Gender is political, right? It shouldn't be though.
No,
it
should be an absolute non-issue.
Right, because that is a person's experience.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, I'm not saying this because I have answers, because I don't have answers. You know, I
None
can
of
just
us
tell
do.
you
Even
that
all the artists in the world have no answers.
Right,
they all have
exactly.
different opinions and different ways of looking, and it's all about the interpretation of
right.
stuff. So.
And so I think the ultimate goal was just to not shut people out and let them have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because this was a touchy one.
It's very touchy.
This was one that like even
it's politics.
Yeah, it's politics.
Always touchy.
It's always touchy, and we're approaching an election season, so an election year. So
heightened
I get
political
it. Depending
climate.
on where you are, you've already voted. So
That's fair.
in the world.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna stop there.
There you have it, guys.
There you go.
There's a glimpse. That's
Yes.
just the tip of the iceberg.
That is just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm sure there are other conversations you can find on the internet, wherever, to keep this thing going.
And actually, I would say, like, definitely, like, you know, dive into our comments if you see the original prompt.
Absolutely.
Like, just read those, because I think it's very interesting, and I think they were very well thought out.
I think it's always very helpful and good for people to observe other people's opinions and where they're coming from and stuff, whether, of course, you agree with it or not.
Right.
It's good to get perspective on the whole.
On the whole. There you go. Absolutely. So, I'm going to stop there.
Here we go.
And we're going to close out the show. There you go. So, how about something fun? Comic shop shout out.
Comic shop shout out.
What do you got?
If you guys want to have your local comic shop shouted out on the show, let us know who they are. Hit us up on social media, wherever you can find us. use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS and you could get a feature. This week, we are taking a look at La Boîte à BD,
Ooh,
which is in Laval, Canada, and this is very French.
very French.
Very French and very interesting. So Boîte à BD is
Yeah.
essentially a box of comics.
Oh,
is what
really?
it
Okay.
translates to. So BD is bande dessinée, which is comics in French. So box of comics.
Nice,
there you go,
nice.
guys.
There you
And that
go.
was sent in from Stéphane Trehan.
Nice. We're learning all sorts of things today, aren't we?
Your French lesson for the week.
There you go. I love it. I love it. So that's it for this week on Previews World Weekly, guys. Hopefully you're still with us. Hopefully we didn't scare you off. And hopefully you learned some French today. One of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we'll see you at the spinner rack.
Thanks for watching Previews World Weekly. If you like the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.